All right, well, that's hopefully download or uploading. Let's do the other half. The dot plot shows a number of chess games won by each of the 20 students in a competition. Which statement about that is true? So technically speaking, I guess you can squish it and try to see what the median and the IQR is, but honestly, that's not the best way to solve this. The best way to solve this, although annoying, is going to help you get the right answer. And that is by writing every single number that we see on the dot plot. I wrote my 3 zeros, my 2 1s, my 3 3s, my 3 4s, my 2 6s, my 3 7s, my 2 8s, my 1 9, and my 1 10. And we need to find the median. They think it's either 4 or 5, so you'll be able to be the judge of that. So what I'm going to do is just cover up each of the numbers until we see that it's stuck between 4 and 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So our answer is either F or G. Now we need to find the interquartile range, which means we need to find the median of the top half first. 1 plus 3 is 4. Divided by 2 is 2. In this case, 7 plus 7 is 14. 7 plus 7 is 14. Divided by 2 should be 7. And so we got to do Q3 minus Q1, which should be 5. Now we have the distance in mile that some students live from school. And the first thing we need to talk about is how it's symmetrical. As you can see, it's balanced on both sides, which means it can't be the ones that say it's asymmetrical. A means not, and so this would be an example of something that's asymmetrical. Asymmetrical. This would be an example of something that is mostly symmetrical. And then something I couldn't really mention while I was teaching the notes is that basically if you have no kind of skew, what that means is that if this is the middle of your numbers, your median will be right in the middle with you. However, if you have a skew right, because it's pushing on the right, or a skew left, because it's pushing on the left, what's going to happen is that even though the middle of your numbers is here, the median and the mean are going to be kind of off center a little bit because the data is kind of pulling it that way, kind of like ocean waves do, I guess. In this case, we don't have a skew left, we don't have a skew right, we have a perfectly symmetrical graph. What that means is that both our mean and our median are probably going to be within the category. Now we have box plots, and this is kind of like a stacked box plot. It's kind of like a sandwich, but just kind of imagine it like they're the same thing, just on top of each other. So I have to start from the bottom because I know what the answer is. For half the evenings in the spring musical, the attendance was between 155 and 200 people. Well, technically not, because half would be 2 sections. I'm sorry. And the only one that actually fits in those 2 sections is fall. And so they shouldn't have written spring, they should have written the fall musical. If they wrote fall, then that would have been the correct statement. Next one said, for half the evenings at the fall musical, the attendance was less than 60 people. Well, not quite. It would have been less than 65 people. But because, let's write that down. Because our midpoint right here, our median, if you will, is right here. And so it should have been less than 165 people. Now we have a paper saying that our interquartile range at the spring musical is 45. This is 135, and this, our Q1 is 135, and our Q3 is 195. And to find the interquartile range, you got to subtract this and this. And so 195 minus 135 is actually 60. And so our answer is actually F. Because it states that the range in attendance for the fall musical, so the smallest number, is 140, and our biggest number, 125, is this. So 225. I'm so glad this pen erases. I've made so many mistakes right now. There we go. So we have 225 minus 140 is equal to 85. And that's how we should have gotten F as in flamingo. I hope that made sense, guys. I'll explain it more in class if you really want me to. Now we have this one, the one where you may or may not have to use math. We know that lunch is our very smallest amount. So that means that lunch should be the smallest number on all of these. And it's only the smallest number on H as in hamburger. Another way a student told me how they solved it, which I thought was really smart actually, is that they knew that breakfast was 30% and they knew that supper was 60%. So they're like, okay, breakfast is half of lunch. Breakfast is half of supper. What that means is that I'm looking for a number where breakfast is half of supper. And the only number that made that true was 9 and 18, also H. So I thought that was really brilliant, and she got it right, so kudos to her. Good job. Now we have this one. This is the one where kind of eyeballing it will only get you so far. So I'm just going to do it the math way by making percent proportions. The reason why I know it has to be percent proportions is because we're looking for the percent bar graphs and, well, need percents to do that. We don't know the percent, but we know percent is always over 100. We also know our parts, which is 44, 55, 55, and 66. And then we need to find the whole or the total. So if you added these all together, you should have gotten 220. After that, we just cross multiply and divide. This should have been 20%. And this should have been 25%. 25%. And 30%. And the only answer that really has that is C, as in cookie jar. Because from here to here is 20. 45 minus 20 is 25. 70 minus 45 is, again, 25. And then from 70 to 100 is 30%. Variability, remember we talked about that, is like the change almost. And so the cost of cheese pizza, if that's $150, it's never going to change. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of August versus Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in March, it's going to be the same $150. It's not like they're going to raise the price all of a sudden. Library fee, same idea. If they charge you $5 for a book that's overdue, they're not going to change that later in the year. Same thing with the lunch period. It doesn't really change a lot because you should always have your 30 minutes of lunch. But the number of students absent each day will totally change. Some days I may only have like half the class here because other class is at a field trip. Maybe the other class is sick. Something like that, which is why our answer, the one that has the most change, will be A as in alphabet. We have like 3 more left. No, we have exactly 3 more left. So let's get this show on the road. Half the students drank from 78 to 144 fluid ounces. One thing I would like to notice just before we start is how our paper is going up in intervals of 12. So if you have something in between, we need to figure out what's halfway between here and here. So I know that from here to here is going to be 6 units. So this is going to be 30 because it's, 24 plus 6. Right here is going to be 60. Right here is going to be, it doesn't look like half, but let's say that it's half. So let's say that it's just 78. And let's say that that's 82, I think. Sorry, 92. Oh my gosh, I can't count. It's 90, guys. I'm sorry. It's 90 because it's halfway between 84 and 96. And last but not least, we have like 114 right around over here. Half the students drank from 78 to 114. That's exactly half because this is 25% of our information and this is 25% of our information. The greatest number of students drank from 30 to 78 fluid ounces. Not quite. We only know that 50% of our students drank it, and that's not really the greatest amount. The data represents 78 student responses. We don't know how many people responded. It could be 5 people, like literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or it can be like a literal million. We don't know. So that's a statement that we can't support. Last but not least, we can't say what the mean is because we don't know the mean. We can't add them all together and divide by the number of numbers because we don't know how much the total is. The only thing we really know is the median, which is our Q2 right here in the middle of our box plot. Second and not least, or second to last, we have this. What I'm doing right now is something that I told all my students to do, which is write down the number of responses that we have. We should probably add them all together. I really don't feel like doing that. It should be 35, 15, 30, and 20. This should be 50, and this should be 50 as well. So the total is going to be 100 people. Oh, that says it right there on C. D says exactly 20 members are less than 32 years old, but we don't really have that. We have that it's 20 and then 16. And so if they said exactly 35 members were less than 32 years old, then that would have been the correct answer. There are more men than women in the choir. That's literally nothing about here says anything about gender. Last but not least, it says more than half the members are from 46 to 73 years old. And we added this together to be 50. And so it should be half the members are from 46 to 73 years old. And that's when we would be like, oh, it's A. But they didn't, so the answer is C, because we can add it all together and notice how the choir has a total of 100 members. Last one, and it's a histogram. So I'm going to take a couple seconds and put my numbers where they belong. That's a 20, that's another 10, that's a 14, it seems. That's a 3. And then we have a 4. And then we have a, what do you guys think? An 8? So I'm going to add them all together, just, so I know. That's 15, that is 30, this is 17, and this is 12. So we have 30 plus, that's 45. And then we have, okay, I messed up somewhere. I don't know where I messed up, guys. Because doesn't that mean it's, and if you add them together, it'd be 74. Anyway, I guess my total is 74 in this case. And so D is instantly incorrect because it's a total of 74 swimmers, not 70. The number of swimmers who were 40 years old or older, so we're going from here to here, that number is actually 29, is less than the number of students who are 29 years right here and younger, which is 15. Last time I checked, 29 is not less than 15. So C is not our answer. So how many swimmers do we have that were 50 years old or older? Well, we have 4 that were 50 to 54 and 8 that were 55 to 59. So added together should be actually 12. Then there are 15 swimmers who are younger than 30 years old. And we already noticed that 10 plus 5 equals 15. So our answer should have been A, as in, I don't know, what do you guys want to say? Alfalfa? Armadillo, I like that one. A is an armadillo. Honestly, this test it's not pretty, I'll tell you that. But I think that you guys are, for the most part, ready. You did really well on your Unit 9, which was, using our star chart and stuff. And you guys understand. You guys have done dot plots before. And you've done stem and leaf plots before. And so there's not really too much new. And you guys can always use your proportions and stuff like that. Just make sure you study your notes and you study this and you study your test review. It's due tomorrow, by the way. And just study everything, and I know you'll do well. Don't forget that if you get a signature, you get 5 extra points on your test. But that's all I have to say. Have a good night and happy studying.